Hey there, I'm Terrie, and I'm the intuitive healer for folks who have anxiety and want to access their soul evolution and intuition. There's more than meets the eye here as we chat and hang out in these episodes that have spiritual, esoteric, multidimensional, somatic, quantum techniques, tools, and tips to help you get unstuck and move you forward in your day-to-day life. So join me in discovering your path to help you clear anxiety of the past, align your energy to the present, and create your new future. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the portal with Terrie Huberman. Another episode that we are watching, seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, tasting, all the things with the human senses. We made it to another episode. Isn't that wonderful? And I'm really excited to bring you today's guest. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can already see the beautiful Yvette. For those of you who are listening, I wanted to introduce you to the Declutterist. Ooh, yes, yes. So here's Yvette. She wrote a book called the Declutter Code, 10 Simple Steps to Clarity. And she shares reasons why most people keep themselves stuck in sabotage and suffering, struggle, separation, stress, all those things, those lower vibrational frequencies, and then guides you into decluttering the mental mess. So, so important. She's been featured on CBS News, Fox, LA Business Journal, Tiny Buddha, HuffPost, all the things, all the places, and many, many more to come. And you guys, she's also a certified yoga instructor. So that is where and how she gets that mind-body connection. So I do want to introduce you to Yvette, the Declutterist. Hello, Yvette.
Hello, Terrie. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Um, so my avatar, the people I mostly work with, they're spiritual empaths, very highly sensitive, and they have anxiety.
Hmm.
And that frequency and that energy of anxiety puts the clutter into the mind,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Hmm.
So I thought it'd be so great to have you on here and just share about your expertise and give any tips and all the fun things. As a matter of fact, this is, if you don't mind, if we can start here and then we'll see where we go. But your one of your most recent newsletters was about decluttering the calendar. Now, I think, and I could be wrong. So if I'm wrong, anybody wants to call me out on it, they totally can. But most people, when they're thinking about decluttering, they think about their space decluttering, with like knickknacks and just making more room. I guess you can feel that energy flow when that happens, but I don't think most people think of their calendar
Right.
being decluttered.
Yeah.
So I would love to just start out this conversation with that. Just
Yeah. Geez, the calendar is like a representation of our mind. It's like what we think we can do. We want to do it all because we want to have it all. So it's just going to be totally, our exterior world is totally representative of our interior, right? What's going on in here is showing up out there. And so I'm definitely of the mindset to declutter from the inside out. And then everything else really does lend itself to being easier to let go of, right? Because we're not attached to the stories. And even energetically, we're not really charged by it, right? Because we removed the hold it has over us. And so that's a lot of what my work is around. But the calendar, absolutely, just like with our phones, right? How many of us have like 8,000 photos and we can't even upgrade or we have to upgrade our storage just for the
yeah,
phone to stop talking to us every time we
yeah.
take a new photo. That's just the way of this digital world. And so I definitely think decluttering the calendar has so much to do with what we're putting on our plates, and what we're maybe not delegating, what we think is all just for us to do because it just won't get done as well with someone else doing it. Whatever we're telling ourselves about that. And then also just like how much anxiety, how much overwhelm, how much just charge we're putting into our day that we're not managing, we're not staying vigilant over. So yeah, the calendar, huge, huge.
I love how you keep saying charge in regards to the energetic attachment, because I mean, that's actually a fantastic, real fantastic way of describing anxiety. Because ultimately, anxiety is energy. It's not a brain state. And a lot of people think that it's actually a brain state. It's not, it's excess energy in the body. So if you have too much of something, it's going to accumulate, build up, and explode. And it does take a charge, which I guess you can call it like an ignition. It ignites something, right? So yeah, it's interesting because, like, when I think about my calendar in particular, I consider them silly things. I don't know, like, I don't even know if there's a normal, but for example, one of my latest projects for this year, I said I'm going to collaborate with other people and I want to really share resources and all of that. Hence our collaboration.
Yeah.
So I do a series of follow-ups, right? Just like anybody else will do a series of whatever. And I will put in my calendar, follow up with so and so on this day. And then I look at that day and I go crazy because I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to do. And there's that charge, right? The
Yeah.
reality is it takes 2 seconds for me to send a follow-up email, but it's there in my calendar and I'm freaking out.
Yeah. I know.
So,
And I think a little bit of performance anxiety in
oh,
that,
a little
right?
bit?
Because it's like, right, like it wrapped in wrapped in the anxiety around the list, what's all on our calendar is kind of like the performing it,
Yeah.
right? Like even just the thinking of doing it is delaying us.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah. And I don't have children. I can only imagine a mom who is working full time, has more than one child. It's almost like you need a calendar for each human that you caretake
Absolutely.
for.
Yeah.
So, and then if you have anxiety on top of that, it's just amplifying or exacerbating that charge, that energy.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, you're a mom, aren't you?
Yeah.
So,
Of
like, what do
two
you
toddler boys.
how many?
Two toddler boys.
Two toddler boys. Are they
Oh
twins?
yeah. No, they're not twins, a year apart.
Yeah, but they're pretty
18
twins.
months. 18 months. Yeah.
That's kind of twinsy.
I know.
They're close enough.
Everyone asks, are they twins? No, 18 months apart. And my husband just is, I'm just in a house with boys. So it's just, it could be chaos, right? If my energy didn't kind of take the lead a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really, I think, how I show up. I have to, one, kind of respect the space that they're in. They all get to express themselves and be loud and run around and do all that stuff, husband included. And so I feel like, I just kind of like know when I need to step back or I need to take a break. And this has to do with calendar, right? Because if I just need to step away from all the mayhem, then I get to, right? But it's like I need to raise my hand. I need to communicate. And that's such a big thing
Huge.
about like schedule, right? Like I need to say I need this. And it's come more into clarity for me about how I do communicate with my family, what I don't have to take on, what I can pass the torch to with my partner. Like it's not just all about me. He can do some stuff too. Um, so that's a huge one. I mean, in a household with two boys and let alone, three kids or whatever, everyone's going to have their schedule, even as they get into extracurriculars, even more so, right? Sports and spelling bee, whatever it is. It's like that's got to be on the calendar. And so I highly recommend a shared family calendar. We have one. And so my husband and I put on the calendar our stuff that the other one should know about. I mean, even a podcast interview like this, when he works from home most days, needs to be on that calendar because he needs to know like when I'm really not available, right? And there needs to be a buffer period. So communicating all those things means the expectations are set, right? Everyone's set up for success to help the other one find success and us be in support of that person executing at that particular time. So there's so much to lay the groundwork for that a lot of times we get overwhelmed thinking of, well, how am I going to get my kids and my family to even care about my calendar? Well, this is how you do it. And you stay consistent at it. You show that it's important to you by doing it yourself, walking the walk. And they absolutely will fall in line, for lack of a better phrase, because it's just it's the energy of the space. It's it's the only thing I respond to. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, even for my own life. And so I really did have to train them to know, like, mommy doesn't work any other way. If she did, it'd be chaos. I'd be frantic. And I'm already a frantic worrywart. Like, I need less of that. And so here's how you're gonna help me. So communication's key.
That's it could be because I'm single and I don't have a partner or children. I never considered that. I mean, from my perspective, I know that CEOs or management will share their calendar with their assistants, but I don't know how many, maybe it's a more common thing where families share calendars, but that's so important. And I'm thinking about my sister who has two children about 18 months apart, same. One boy, one girl, though, not twinsies. And then her husband works, and I'm just thinking, and she's got doctor's appointments for all four of them. It's like there's so much, and the communication is nothing like you're describing. I don't think that's a normal, typical kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm hearing you say that it's super important to have
Oh
communication.
yeah.
It's almost like, wow, so this is coming through. It's a safety and security issue, if you think about it,
Oh yeah.
because you're asking for a need, and it hopefully will get met by your partner.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, this can reveal so much. What if you have a partner you can't work with?
Absolutely. And there are areas of our lives where my partner and I don't work well together.
Okay.
But that means we have not come up with an agreement in that area. It doesn't mean he's completely just incompatible with me. It's just in these areas, right? We've got these pockets of our lives and different expressions, right? We could be one way in this group and a different way in our corporate setting, whatever.
Yeah.
So just like we're multifaceted, and so are our spouses, our partners,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like we've got to meet them. This kind
Yeah.
of like not I don't know. I think of like just finding the edges, right? That fit, and just
Right.
knowing that the agreement that we've made is to have a calendar when it comes to where we're going to be every day on a daily basis. Um, I think your sister sounds like she's not handed enough off, or made it plain that in order for me to function well and to be well and to feel good about my situation here in this household, I need to be able to rely on you with, XYZ. That might not be the case next year, but
Right.
this year, maybe in this time, right, this phase we're in with toddlers, I need you to help me with XYZ.
Yeah.
And if there's some dissent there, then he gets to chime in and express whatever that is, whatever obstacle he's kind of seeing. But if he knows that your well-being kind of relies on giving some stuff up, letting go. There's a good book by Tiffany Dufu called Dropping the Ball or Drop the Ball, and
Right.
really excellent in like what we think we have to take on as mothers and not pass on. Um, I mean, it's crazy, right? It's just almost like it's in our fabric. It's in our
Yeah.
DNA.
Yeah.
We haven't questioned the system enough.
No. Yeah. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. They're just so in the system, the mindset, it's the programming. And so it is hard to do everything. It really truly is. And I think what a lot of people need to learn, and then when you learn it, you have to implement and practice it. So there's a two-step process here, is that you can only be so good to other people, whether it's your family or whether it's your employees or your bosses or your friends or lovers or whoever. You can only be as good to them as you are to yourself. So when I'm working with my clients, I'm always telling them, when you fly in a plane And right before you take off, they do the demonstration of those masks that fall down. They always say, put the mask on yourself first before your infant child. It's so weird. That's like so counterintuitive. I mean, you have an infant child and you're just going to be like, hey, cabin pressure, you can go get this kiddo. That's not the truth. But like, what good is a mom who can't fully operate to that child? So, uh,
Absolutely.
it does start with us first. And we are, God, you brought up the cat, like the pictures and the photos on the
Right?
phone. And I'm like, I never thought of that. I mean, cleaning and clearing all of that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing. Like one of the things, like I said before, it's like there are the things that are obvious, like your space, but it's always the smaller things because they add up to the bigger things, like your photo albums, your calendars, even the car, even your car, which is not like your home, but it's like you were saying, representative of who you are, as above, so below, as within, so without. So, God, you got me thinking about so many things. I'm like, well, how can I rearrange my calendar just
Well,
so that
and
I don't do that?
even, even, sorry to interrupt, just
Yeah.
to your point about how it adds up, right? It's
Yeah.
like our phone it adds to our plate. Our client calls add to our, like, right, it adds to the chaos and the overwhelm, the burnout. But actually, and here's where mindset works comes in once again. Think of it actually as a derivative of the bigger picture. It doesn't only amount to the bigger picture, but it's also just a byproduct of the bigger picture, which is in here. Like, we can only see and experience the world through the framework of our body, of our being, of our eyes, of our senses, right? And so all that interpreting that's happening
Yeah.
as to what we experience sensory wise is happening behind the scenes. And so, yeah, I might feel very, oh, I'm in a toxic relationship. Oh, I'm in a cluttered room and I just can't stand it. But that began a while ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That didn't just show up because, piles of paper are stacking on your desk. It was way back when,
Yeah.
and so thinking about that, it's kind of in, maybe that even makes more people a little more anxious to know that they've got to start from within. Maybe it feels a little easier to, well, let me just tackle this closet. Um, but I'll tell you this, it will never end if
Well,
that's how you do it.
well, the other aspect to that, so since we live in polarity and duality, what I try and do is find some peace in the fact that it will never end.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
Right.
And nothing's permanent, and
Nothing's
absolutely things are
permanent.
all always
Yeah.
changing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is.
So, if I'm gonna apply that to, let's say, my calendar, or even just like I'm looking around, there was a leak in my apartment in the ceiling because it was like raining, and I'm like, my room is very chaotic right now. You can't see it, thankfully, but the couches are all over the place, and the whiteboards here, and the air conditioning system's there, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not my space. This is not my space. But understanding that it's an like just us being human, our day-to-day experience is an evolution. It's a story that has chapters and it continuously plays out, because there are some days I'll look at my calendar and I'm like, oh, I have no clients today. And then I'm like, okay, so I just have to do, A, B, and C, and that charge isn't there. So
Yeah.
um, leaning into the uncertainty,
Mm.
as much as we don't like it, um, if mindset is, we can actually take some pressure off that way too. So, it's all, this is just so fascinating, but because energy influences energy, yeah, your environment, your outside environment is gonna have some sort of impact on you.
Oh, absolutely. They're so symbiotic, just like mind with body.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're right,
Yeah.
Terry. And I think with the calendar, and to your point about like, no clients today, when you declutter your calendar, there is a lot of planning involved, right? There's looking at the week, getting ahead of kind of like what's going on this week. I know I don't have clients this day because I never schedule clients that day, right? So blocking off days where there are no outward facing, public facing interaction. So I can maybe just hunker down, stay in and do some content writing or right. And so my wavelength is on that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have days where I'll be public facing or I'll shoot reels or something that feels a little bit extroverted,
Yeah.
um, but not on all the days of the week. And so there is some reliability because I get to create my calendar. And so I get to own what I batch on which days.
Yeah.
Weekends are completely out of the question. They're completely family days. I give myself no pressure to do anything work related,
Yeah.
because it does feel like pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so, right, to keep our businesses running, working women as entrepreneurs or full-time employees somewhere or CEOs, right? I mean, it does amount to like us owning what we can own, right? Controlling what we can control, saying we're unavailable until 10 a.m. Any day of the week, right? Because we've got our morning ritual and we do XYZ in that time frame. And for mothers, it's not that pretty. Morning rituals aren't. So we have to find where we can fit stuff in.
Yeah. I love what you're saying because I felt my nervous system kind of soothe a little bit when you were saying, because anxiety loves that, because what you're doing is you're taking control, you're creating an outcome and a result. So you're like, I know what I'm doing on Monday. I know what I'm doing on Tuesday. So the anxiety is like, I love that. Give me more, give me more. So it's actually, you will decrease your anxiety by doing that. So taking control. I'm hearing you say take control.
Yeah, yeah, and right, and just own what you can own.
Yeah.
And even from a single perspective, right, the calendar can get filled up once we start dating, and
Yes.
and these rendezvous are like any which way. But stepping into that encounter with somebody new and holding true to still those non-negotiables, still kind of what you don't budge on, try it. Try
Yeah.
it. I know the freedom of just wanting to be whipped, or what do you call it? Whisked away,
Yeah.
right, into romance is there. Um, but try it without losing that idea that when I do see him or her, I will be there. It will feel like sparks are flying, things
Yeah.
like that. But try it in the onset to be a little bit, um, I don't know, take pride in, I
Yeah.
don't schedule things on that time. I know
Yeah.
I sound crazy, but but it's like, hey, no false expectations. You knew this about me when we were dating. So now that we're married, I'm still like this, that kind of thing.
It's energy
Um,
management. It is taking care of yourself. It really is.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I still feel, okay, it's a judgment. I get it, but I still feel that someone who has a family is probably busier, or at least has more on their plate. That may not be a fair statement. I'm sure single people are going to be like, no, Terrie, you're wrong. And that's fine. It's just my perspective. It's just like, I do think that. So I hear what you're saying and I have a yeah, but to it. But yeah. So what are like, when you personally declutter things or declutter your life or the mental mess, what are your favorite things to declutter?
Oh, so okay. So in my environment,
Yeah,
or
yeah, for you, either in your environment, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like, what do you, I mean, I know it's weird to say enjoy because duality, right? Because some things
yeah.
we have to and we don't necessarily want to, but just personally in your experience, like, what are some of your favorite things to declutter for you in your world?
Yeah. Well, I would say I like organizing papers and right, and just like things I've collected, because I still am of the paper generation and I still like paper and notes and post-its and things like that, because for me that helps sort
Yes.
some of the mental like burn.
Yeah.
Like I need to see something, I'm visual, so I need to have a post-it, or I need my planner with me everywhere. But I also have the digital aspect of that. So I think I like to, I don't know, get my papers and shred and go through mail, and just like if I've got my little inbox here, doing it, tackling. I think that's probably my favorite, because it's probably the most, what I do every week, just to make sure piles aren't stacking up.
Yeah.
I think what I hate the least is what I do also every day, and that's the kitchen stuff. And it's not fun, but it's also like a chance to just be mindful. And maybe it doesn't feel so much like work
Yeah.
um, anymore. And that's probably why it doesn't feel like decluttering. It's just kind of like my process. Uh, but but that's it. I mean, it's a fun question. With everything, you have to start from, like Marie Kondo says, right? Pull everything out. As mothers, who I think, I agree with you, we're the busiest people in the world. I absolutely
Yeah.
can't see any other way. But it feels like we're the busiest in the world. And so the idea of pulling everything out onto the floor, I don't have a set time till I don't have all day to give to
Yeah.
this project. So for me, I've got to kind of pick and choose. It's just the closet today, kind of thing. And I highly recommend don't bite off more than you can choose, because then that's just going to add to the stacks and the pile and the clutter in your space and in your purview. So it's taking condo, but in like a minimalist way, like
Right.
finding kind of your little small pieces to break off, right, of the big project. But and with everything, it's pulling things out. I call it the brain dump, right? When we do mental
Sure.
clarity work, it's kind of like you just do a brain dump, you get it all out, and you keep that brain dump, because down the line, maybe 2 days from now, you're going to add more.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to feel like, oh yeah, I forgot that. I forgot that. So leave it out, right? Just give yourself like a good 3 days to brain dump.
Yeah.
And then it feels a little bit more like, okay, it's out of my head. So while I'm decluttering these piles of paper, I'm not thinking about all the things that I didn't put on my brain dump list, because I can just focus on and be here now. So a lot of it is clearing the clutter. That's why I like to journal in the mornings. Clear the clutter, clear kind of just the headspace with all the stuff we've let percolate
Yes.
and not compartmentalize. And
Yeah.
so we got to let everything rise to the surface. We kind of put it to the side, and then from there we get to pick and choose. This I can handle today.
Yeah.
This I'll put on my calendar. This I'll put in the time box area of like admin, right, in my day. This is the admin work I'll do, and I'll plug in to that portion of the calendar.
Yeah.
So it starts there.
It's like time blocking in a way. You just brought up something which is very interesting when you were talking about the brain dumping. What I notice when I work with my clients a lot of times is that because there's that polarity and duality, people want to get to the happy part and not, and I get it, because being in the not happy part sucks.
Mm.
It's painful. But I love your brain dumping exercise, just getting everything out. How would you, because I think a lot of times when people they'll see the BS, the not feeling good stuff, their body will most likely feel better because you are releasing energy by just writing out those ugly thoughts. But it's also authenticity. If you do it the right way, I feel like you don't BS yourself. You can get into that authenticity frequency, but people might dwell in it. And people might
Mm.
be like, "Oh, I have this list. This is why I am the way I am." And they won't necessarily let it go. How would you not, I don't know if the right way to say it is tell somebody to let it go, but how would you maybe direct them, or what would you suggest to them to not live in their list?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say burn it
Oh, nice. Make a ritual out of it. Yes, girl.
and
Okay.
start all over. Right. If we're so attached to this thing, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's just treasuring all the superficial stuff in our lives. It's taking ourselves too serious, putting weight on things that really in the end don't matter.
Yeah.
And that is having that observer perspective, that arm's length distance from this list. If I
Yeah.
can put it on the list, it's an object now I can control,
Yeah.
right? Because I've given it no power over me to run my day and put me through the ringer. And this emotional roller coaster doesn't have that hold on me because it's just something now I can either delegate, delete, do, and schedule it into my calendar where it fits best.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would, and I think if you get too hung up on even just, the process of writing it out, that you delay it, we're
Yeah.
procrastinating on even brain dumping, then it's almost like in a session, I'd have you sit down and do it with me. It's almost like you need to be shown and proven to
Yeah.
that it can feel okay. It'll be okay. And in fact, it'll feel great when you burn
Yeah.
it and start from scratch because it'll be there for you. I think what
Yeah.
matters, like same when we talked about that analogy in the beginning, like it rises to the top. All
Yeah.
that matters rises to the top. And if we can just experience that first few sips of coffee with the foam, that's the best part.
That's the
When you get
best
to
part.
the end, it's the best part. And so if I make a new cup of coffee every day, I get to experience that no fresh first taste every day.
Yeah.
And so it's like that. It's not putting too much pressure on yourself that just because I brain dumped it, I've got to do it all.
Yeah.
No, that it's a total shift in perspective. No, it's
Yeah.
actually just what you think you have to do.
Yeah.
And thinking is different than
Yeah.
being.
And yes. And a lot of times when you actually see it, that's when reality can come in and go, wait, this is not necessarily the truth. I perceived it as the truth, but it's not necessarily the truth. A lot of times people will, like, especially these very spiritual people, or a lot of my clients are very empathic, highly sensitive, very witchy. They'll only do this maybe for full moon, but
Mm,
you can do this every week.
yeah,
You could do this every day. I mean, every day might be a little much. I don't know. I think there might be a spiritual bypass if you do it every single day. But I think once a week would actually be a really great ritual to do, to release and let go and just get out. Because it is
yeah,
that detachment. Once you're detached, you have clear observation, then you're in truth. Otherwise, you're in distortion, based on your programming, on your trauma, on all of those things. So I love that.
100%.
Yeah, I think we need to remind people that they can make it a ritual for themselves, however they want to, whether they
Yeah,
burn it. What I do is in my patio has like all of these, like the bamboo tiki type stuff. I'm
yeah,
afraid to do fire because like I don't want to set it, set up on fire, my patio. So and this is what I also tell people when they travel. If you're traveling around full moon, you take your list, you tear it up, you soak it in water. So I'll soak it in water. And what I do is like, so if you're traveling at a hotel, soak it in water and then flush it down the toilet because the whole idea is to get rid of it. And if the
yeah,
paper is already soft, it's not going to clog the toilet.
right.
Um, and then what I do at home is I put it in the garbage disposal because it's already soft and it's like, bye-bye. And then I get to hear the grinding and I'm like, no, they like
Yes.
get all of my senses involved if I can. But that's a really great.
Or if you have a shredder, just
Oh, a shredder. Yes. Yeah, we like that physical stuff. We humans love that physical stuff. Give us the evidence of the physical, divine. Come on, bring it, bring it.
absolutely all the time. Yeah.
I
And
love that.
and for somebody who might get overwhelmed, brain dumping a whole life's to-do list, just kind of keep it within the container of, on Sunday night I'm brain dumping for the week. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I know
sure.
I can't do Disneyland this week. I can't fit in that travel plan, but maybe what I can do this week is, oh, I can schedule, summer vacation, or, I can start
Yeah,
to work my mind around like what we're going to do for summer vacation. So yeah, definitely can put some containers around when you do the big life brain dump list and you let it kind of sit at your desk so you can jot down as you go. That's a life to do list. And that's kind of like just keep that open and available for a few days. And know that you're just kind of making yourself aware, bring it to the surface. What's got your attention? What's bottled up here? What's clogging pores? What's clogging organs? What's stopping? What's bottlenecking?
Yeah.
right? The energy from just being fluid and flowing. That's what you're doing with this work. And
Yeah.
so in and of itself is a process, and it's a beautiful one. So that can live and be its own thing, and burn it when you can, want to,
Yeah.
right? But within kind of a week, looking at a week or just even a day, like what can I do today? I know I have this. Just writing it down is
Yeah.
it's cathartic.
Yeah, well, writing it down I actually think this is a personal thing. So, if it doesn't resonate for anybody, it doesn't resonate for anybody. But I like the idea of brain dumping instead of journaling. For me personally, I have a lot of anxiety that I like to work through. So it's going to come out as statements that
Sure.
my human is thinking. Um,
Mm,
that's just something, that I think it would be better because like for some reason, and I don't know why, but journaling, I do feel like there has to be a certain way to do it. Like there's a perfectionism to doing it. And it's like,
right. Has to start your
bother.
diary.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. I get
like
it. I
dude,
get it.
or in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But if I could just be like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr," it does the same thing energetically. It's all about expulsion.
Absolutely.
So what
It does.
what was your in terms of working with clients, what's been your oh, this is so weird to say, but what's been your favorite case? What has been like your favorite win with working with client? Like what was if you even have a favorite? Because like for me personally, it's hard to just choose one transformation, but is there one? And what was it?
It is tough. It's tough to choose. It, I think on the level of anxiety, I'll choose one there.
Okay.
And it has to do with one of my clients starting her business and delaying it for a good year, but we were actively working on it.
Okay.
But what was deeper than starting a business was the anxiety around showing up in public again.
Mm,
Because before she was a dancer, got injured, got had some, not mental health issues that took her off stage. And so to come back into kind of this public facing entrepreneur, because she had, big dreams for groups and communities that she wanted to erect. It's like she was taking that experience and like, man, I've got to be that big and bold again. um, we had to work on like, well, let's look at that. Let's look at what happened before and how you showed up, and what did that mean to you? What does that prove about yourself? And then also breaking down, brain dumping what she thinks she has to do for business, and what's um, what feels bigger than it really is, and how can we break that down into these baby steps?
yeah.
Because business doesn't have to equal burnout. Business absolutely has baby steps
Yeah.
built in, and if we grow slow, we grow steady, we grow smooth, and it's sustainable. And that's really what I mean, because there's still a lot of anxiety around even just putting up a website for her. So working through that and seeing the website launched, seeing the emails that she sent out to promote it, and watching her kind of like just light up like I did that, and I'm on the other side of the girl who feared even doing that, right? But it was so accessible because I broke it down, right? I don't tell them what to do.
Oh,
I work with my clients to come up with their own
yeah.
solution for
Yeah.
where they're stuck. And it was her discovering like, okay, I can, well, I'll break it down like this. And what do you, every week we're talking do, delegate, delete, so what are you going to do this week? And why is that? You're telling me a commitment that is just, it sounds really big, like even for me, like it
Yeah.
needs to let's break it down a little bit more. And so it is new muscles
Yes.
to
Yeah.
trump, I think, the anxiety that's in the way, and making something bigger than it is
Yeah.
feel scarier than it is. So I would say that that's a huge win for me, because
Ah.
she's an entrepreneur and she's claiming it, and whereas before it was like not a thing she would be saying about herself.
There is something really beautiful in watching transformation. Don't you think so? Have you,
Absolutely.
I mean, I do this. I can't believe anybody else who's not connected. And I know you're connected. I could feel it with every fiber of my being to like, it's not even just like a higher power. It's connected to humanity, to other people. But do you learn from your clients?
Oh, every day. Oh,
They
they're teachers.
teach me all the time.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I'm learning all the time through them. I'm evolving through them. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think that's the only reason why I think it's so beautiful to watch the transformation. And do you also experience this where you might be going through some situations or challenges at a specific time, or there's a circumstance and you pick up a new client and guess what their challenges and issues are? It's like a mirror reflection and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be fun." And I'm saying that sarcastically. Do you
Right.
get that? You like, does that happen to you?
Oh, yeah. It's either something I'm currently facing, know I'm going to face, or faced in the past, right? And my job is like not to be like, well, I'll tell you what I did,
Yeah, yeah,
but still kind of just stay present with like, oh, I know this is breakthroughable,
yeah,
and just kind of hold that space for them. But it's very much like I'm always a student learning, and the teacher always appears for me. And it's just like, in whatever shape, way, or form, like I'm open to the discovery, right? Because I think they are mirror reflections of us, and I and us them, right?
yeah,
Because that's why they found us.
yeah,
That's why we're now tribed up.
yeah,
And it's absolutely like it's just this symbiosis. It's
yeah,
a beautiful little dance that we get to do. I know,
yeah,
and that's why I don't like thinking of business as transactional, because I
yeah,
mean, and it's not so much e-commerce. I know it's hard to separate if you're selling like products and cosmetics or things
yeah,
like that, but it's so not transactional. And some aspects of it is absolutely,
right.
but like getting into the space with somebody and like really breaking down walls even that they have up with you at first.
Yes,
um
they do.
it,
They sure do.
Oh, they do, right? They're like, wait, I paid you for this, and how are you gonna help me? And
Yeah. 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 Until we get to them. No, I'm kidding, you guys. I'm kidding. No, but the transaction is not really transactional. It's exchange. And that's because energy influences energy. And I think there comes that point in the relationship when you are working with clients that they start to see that they are affecting you and that they do have like value to you. Like they finally feel heard, seen, witnessed, and it does take some time. It absolutely does take some time, but it's I can't, I don't, I have this problem where it's just because I'm so emotional and I'm so feely where I cannot put human words to what I feel. I wish I could
Hmm.
explain to everybody who's watching or even to you or listening, even like how to describe that feeling, but I can't. But I will say watching the evolution it's just beautiful. There's no other word that I know how to describe it.
Yeah, don't give it a word. Like
Yeah, I don't
let it
want
exist,
to.
right? Don't
Yeah,
like make it smaller by needing to
yeah,
define it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But you
So
know it when you know it. You know it when you feel it.
no, that's that saying, if you know, you know. It's like you don't even need to know. You just know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure my husband gets so upset with me because I process so much
Yeah.
that I'm so quiet a lot of times if I'm just kind of letting him be, or if I had a client that day that just kind of resonated with me and I'm thinking about that, or something I, watched on YouTube. Whatever it is, it's like I'm kind of processing, and so I'm quiet, and I'm sure he's just like, "What's going on with you?" But that's just how I am.
Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's actually a very feminine energy thing because you're being, and masculine energy loves that. They love it. So, it's great. So I do have one last parting question here that I decided I was going to start asking my guests, because I'm curious to hear different perspectives. What in your, and it's a big question, okay? So
Okay.
like just do your best. I don't feel pressured or, you probably will, but try not to. What do you think personally? So you can tie it into either the work that you do or just you as Yvette. What do you think the meaning of life is?
Mm,
It's a biggie, I know.
yeah, that's a good one to ask.
Yeah.
'Cause we often want to know,
Yeah.
but it's when the questions like put on us and we have a chance, the space to really respond. Um, I do think the meaning of life is to feel good.
Hmm.
And I think we've come into this life in iterations and we've chosen to come as this person, Yvette, in this work and with this plight. Um, and this perspective and this personality, and we've come into this world and we've chosen to be her,
Yeah.
and in that find how to feel good,
Yeah.
find that with all the obstacles, know that it's just a game, know that I just get to experiment and experience this because I chose to. And in the next life, when I'm some gorgeous model who's 5'9" and I'm walking the runway in these amazing Prada clothes, that I sometimes wish I should be, or want to be, then I know I get to be her.
Yeah.
And so, and in that, there's even drama, right? Like finding the feel good in whatever celebrity means, right? Or finding the feel good in playing sports, because I chose to be this Brazilian football player. And like, so I think that is really what it is, and not taking ourselves too seriously, not wrapping our whole identity up in this, because we know we're not that, but we chose this avatar for this game and we're playing it behind the scenes. And as long as we can stay observer, detached from kind of the punches and the bruises and the things that we face, and we can live in the moments of like what this feels like, and this sensory experience is overjoyed, like kind of, I don't know, representation of the divine. Like we are here to experience that, and like find it in the face of your child and just be like, oh my god, this is everything. That is the meaning of life.
I love that mic drop. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Well, Yvette, I want to thank you for coming onto the portal here and sharing all of your wisdom and having this really fun exchange. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun connecting and hanging. I kind of look at these as like, just girls' nights.
Oh, yeah.
Like just like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's just have fun. So if
Absolutely. Not every podcast host is like yours. So own
oh,
that.
thank
That is
you.
beautiful about
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying that. So if anybody wants to work with you, which you guys I highly, highly recommend, how would people get in touch with you?
Declutterist.com is a good place to start. And at Declutterist on all the socials.
The
You'll
socials.
find me and like, how anything I'm, promoting at the time, any work I'm doing that you can be part of, work with me. You'll find it on there.
I will also make sure that in the show notes for this, all of your contact information is there in case anybody missed that. So people will still be able to find you. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you who are watching or listening to this episode of The Portal. Please, please like, subscribe, share, rate this episode. The algorithms work where like if you actually sort of like participate, they'll show it to more people. And Yvette has some really great information. So it'd be really nice to be able to share that with more people. So please like, subscribe, share, tell people about this episode. And thank you to everybody watching and listening. And I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye. Well, our time in this now moment together has ended, but another now moment is on its way. Thank you so much for joining me in this human journey and listening to this podcast, The Portal with Terrie Huberman. I sure hope you're getting something out of it. I'm here to help you clear anxiety from the past, align your energy into the present, and help you create your future. My prayer for you is to find the peace and calmness in any given now moment so you can recognize when blessings are afoot and you get to choose your next adventure. Be curious and stay connected. You can always find me at terriehuberman.com. Bye now.